Welcome to an all Superman comics and beyond. So, plenty of stuff to cover. As I mentioned in my last video, we'll look at the last half of my Action Comics, including the annuals. On Wednesday, my package arrived, so I'll be showing those three books that I got. But before we get onto that, I forgot to show this in my last video. I actually bought this on Sunday, which is the regular Man of Steel DVD. Nothing special about it. Doesn't have a lot of the extras that some of the the Blu-ray or special collector's edition DVDs have, but it does include the 75th anniversary short, which every time I watch it, I get tears in my eyes out of the excitement. It reminds me of why I'm a big, huge Superman fan. Um, I I think I'm pretty lucky as to my own perception of who Superman is because unlike most people who've read comics for years, they usually attach themselves to a version of the character, which is, the first version, the version that they read when they were kids. When I was young, um, I remember watching the Super Friends. I remember seeing on video the Fleischer cartoon, the Filmation cartoons. So, I had a little bit of the Bronze Age Superman or a take on that version of the character, in the Super Friends. I had a more Silver Age approach from Filmation, plus, the all of the movies that I saw on TV, not on the theater, but on TV. So, growing up, the TV shows, the cartoons. I really didn't have one version of the character um, that I could, call my Superman, unlike most people. So it's easier for me to accept new takes on the character than say really what they might call themselves hardcore fans. Just because I've had so many versions and as I started reading comics, I've read other versions of the character, and I've read like every take from the golden age to today. So, for example, a lot of people had problems with the new 52 Superman. I didn't because to me just another take on the character. Uh, so, for example, the movie itself, um, it's a different interpretation of Superman. And the curious thing about it, it's that this movie isn't really Superman. He hasn't gotten to that point where you can say, "Oh, that's Superman." The controversy of the final scene, uh, in which he kills Zod. A lot of people were like, "Superman doesn't kill," but the movie is actually called Man of Steel. It's not called Superman Begins. It's Man of Steel. So the character hasn't even defined himself as that icon that we all know. Uh, and I like Mark Waid, and I know that guy is a huge Superman fan. But the fact that he said he felt sad for this movie is like, you know, his inner fanboy really took over because I mean, just because he was wearing, the blue costume and the red cape doesn't mean that, oh, he immediately is Superman and he knows exactly what he's doing. No, he, Clark Kent, just because he puts on the costume doesn't mean he knows exactly what to do. I mean, he only wore the costume, what, a few days before, all hell broke loose and Zod started his invasion of Earth. Um, he doesn't have any training to fighting. He doesn't really have all the answers. He doesn't just instinctively knows what to do. He's very much human, and as such, he does have flaws. And it takes time. It will take time for Clark Kent to become Superman. And even the people involved in the movie acknowledge that. If you look at the end credits of the movie, and you see that Henry Cavill is actually credited of playing Clark Kent slash Kal-El. It doesn't say Clark Kent slash Superman. It says Kal-El because the filmmakers had a clear idea that no, he's not Superman yet. He hasn't gotten to that point. And going by the film, he doesn't get called Superman until around halfway through the movie, maybe a little bit after. So he hasn't really earned that name yet, you know, or before that he hadn't really earned that name yet until later. Um, but so I really like this because it's a much more flawed, much more human Superman. He's not perfect. He's like he's been like in most versions he's like the Boy Scout or the or has some sort of in sometimes especially in the Silver Age he has more of a paternalistic approach to his interpretation. Sort of like George Reeves' Superman from the Superman TV show. He's more of a somebody that kids could look someone that kids could look up to and sort of be like their super dad. Uh, Not here. This is a young man who starts to learn who he is and what he's capable of, but doesn't have that immediate knowledge that will make him be the world's greatest superhero. A few things I did notice from this film is it reminds me a lot of Superman 2, but Superman 2 on steroids. It has the Phantom Zone villains, um, Zod. If you recall that movie, there was a scene or a series of scenes where Zod and crew actually wreak havoc in a small town. We see that in Smallville. Then the final battle in Metropolis. You get that in here as well, but it's also maybe hyper realistic, a little bit more uh you know with injected with steroids. It's really you know incredibly violent and destructive, sort of like what you would, at least to me it's what I would have expected from a battle of super being. So I kind of really caught that as very interesting take on the whole movie. Um, but yeah, let's yeah. So that those are some of my thoughts on it. I mean, another interesting thing is Lois Lane. Um, One of the points that most people actually make fun of from Superman is, Clark Kent, with the glasses, how come nobody can tell uh, that Superman and Clark Kent are the same, or, is Lois Lane so dumb that she'd actually, fall for every trick Superman would play on her just to protect his identity? What I liked about it here is, this is a smart Lois Lane who was very much able to track, uh, Clark, the Clark she met back, and pretty much learn, you know, who he was, that his mysterious, miraculous man was some guy growing up in Kansas called Clark Kent. I thought, well, finally they gave us a Lewis that's smart, that doesn't just take things at face value. And I like the fact that Lewis is also plays a huge role in the movie. She isn't uh, a supporting character. She's pretty much a leading character as well, or a co-lead character in the movie. And that's why I believe that a lot of people are worrying that bringing in Wonder Woman in the next one and Batman and Flash is going to kind of crowd things up. I really do have a lot of faith in that. For example, Woman is going to have a good role. They give Lewis a really good role, so I don't think she's gonna be left, uh, you know, having a very small, type of role. Okay, moving on to the package. I got three books. Like I said, all of them are anniversary issues, so I'll go pretty much in numerical order. First, we have Superman Family number 200. Now, all of these I got from comicshop.com, and this one is actually graded as a 7.0, though it does have a few flaws. Mm, mm, I wouldn't really call them major flaws. Actually, some are actually due to printing. But first off, it's got bit of a stress line here. You can see bricks actually color. A bit of like a little bit of stress line. And here, it's got a little piece off. The other thing I noticed though, and this is just you know a printing error, if you will. As it's got um, these extra bits here that weren't cut off correctly. So that's more of a manufacturing flaw, printing error, if you will. But the only other thing I did notice, and I think this might be a much more major thing, is that it actually has a coupon cutoff right here. Um, it's got a coupon cutoff, which in the description it didn't say they had a coupon cutoff, but fortunately it does not interrupt the story. In fact, it's an ad thing, you know, from this ad. I believe it was got a subscription for um for I believe I think it was for the subscription to Superman family that was cut off. So, but it doesn't break the story. Um, this one I actually read a while back. I actually and um, and and you know it's an anniversary issue which actually celebrates a wedding anniversary. Supposedly, it's an imaginary story that takes place, in the near future, or the far future. Uh, and it's the anniversary of Clark and Lois' wedding, uh, for the 200th issue. Then we have, I mean, this is a 7.0, but I think it's much higher grade. Which is Superman 300, which I mentioned that this one sort of served as an inspiration to Mark Miller for the um, Superman Red Sun, because it does involve, Superman's rocket crashing in the middle of the ocean, and the Russians, the Soviets, and the Americans, fighting to see who gets the rocket first. Finally, Action Comics 500, supposedly a 7.5, but I think it's more of a 7. Actually, does I mean, this copy is just beautiful. Bright colors. Think white pages or up white pages. But this one, supposedly a 7.5, but it does feel a little bit more like a 7 to me. So this is Superman 500. So that's what I got in the mail on Wednesday, and these are my Christmas presents to myself. Okay, let so I want to make this as short as show as possible because I have some things to say before I go. So let's go on with the rest of the issues of Action Comics. So, Action 854. Action 855. This is the first part of the Escape from Bizarro World story, which features art by um, Eric Powell. The cover is also done by him. Beautiful. 856. That's part 2 of Escape from Bizarro World. 857. 858, the beginning of Superman and the Legion of Superheroes, which is pretty much the next phase of the classic Legion's return, which started with the Lightning Saga. $8.59. 860. 861. 862, 863, 864, 865, a one-off story with the Toyman. 866, which is the beginning of Superman Brainiac, which was later adapted into the animated movie Superman Unbound. 866. 867. 868. 869. 870. 871, beginning the New Krypton story. 872. 873. 874. 875. 877. 877. Oops. Sorry, 876. It was out of order. 877 again. So we have it all in order. 878. 879. 880. 881. 882. 883. 884. 885. 886. 887, 888, 889, 890, 891, which is 892, 893, 894, with an appearance of death. 895, 896, 897, 898, 899, and the big one, we have the big one, 900. 901, 902, with the art by Kent Rocafort, who is doing Superman right now. 903, and the final issue of this volume of Action Comics, 904. So that's the regular issues. Now we'll go with a few of the annuals I own, starting with annual number 10, which is probably one of the coolest annuals that DC has put out, in the past few years, because it's sort of reminiscent of the classic 80-page giant annuals that they used to have back in the 60s, and in fact it includes several stories, but probably one of the oh, that's more out. For example, we have the many deaths of Superman, but the many deaths of Superman. We have a modern retelling of Monal's origin with who is Clark Kent's big brother, which of course is a modern retelling of who is Superman's big brother, Superboy's big brother, which is a retelling or a new take on an old 50s, early 50s story called Superman's big brother. So they pretty much rehashed that story, and now that they were reintroducing the classic Legion, they went back. Geoff Johns actually went back and decided to, uh, retell again, the story, which is pretty much it states pretty much the basic story from the Silver Age. Uh, the cover actually is done by Adam and Joe Kubert. That they did the cover art, and in fact you have an actual uh, two-page story by Joe Kubert that teases um, Bizarro World. Yeah, easy. But one of the coolest features actually is this double-page spread, which is a sort of a guide through the Fortress of Solitude. So you have like the whole colorway thing here, which I thought was very, very cool. And then you have a even you have a lot of these cute little stories, and you even have a table of contents. So this is probably one of the coolest. They even went for the whole checkerboard design, which is also very retro and pretty much iconic, as it's not the first time that's been used before. So I guess any issue with a retro feel would definitely need the checkerboard. Annual number 11, which is actually the conclusion of the Last Sun story, which was the initial arc by Geoff Johns. And actually it's got sort of this flip thing, in Kryptonian. You have this in Kryptonian, you have this in English. Annual number 12. And finally, annual number 13, which kind of retells Lex Luthor's origin. So this shows a very young Luthor. So that's all my Action Comics, my collection so far. As you noticed in my other videos, I've been slowly gathering more issues of this series. Right now, I think my goal is to have a complete run between issues 700 up to like 904. So I actually just need like 21 issues to go from 800 to the whole 900 thing. So I'm slowly trying to get as full a run of action and Superman and all the Superman titles that I can get. But being Attell has been around for 75 years and more, as I continue to go around as the years go by, it's not an easy task. but I'm almost there. Well, not really. Still have a long way to go, but the but it's fun trying to get 4 runs. So this is going to be the last episode of Comics and Beyond. Not for that year, not for this year. I'll be off next Sunday. I'll be off on vacation, so there won't be any Comics and Beyond videos next week. I will try to have at least one video up, which will be a full video for next week. Plus, I'll be adding up, uh, just yeah. So there will be at least a full video before I go off on Christmas vacation, and on the believe it's on the I'll try to have one up on the on the 29th. So this is a planned break, not like my last break, which wasn't planned, just sort of happened. So yeah, so I'll be off a week, and I'll see you on the 29th if I don't put up a full video before that. But being as it is, yeah. So anyways, sorry, checking my phone here. So yeah, so seeing as it is, yeah, yeah, so I'll see you on the 29th, and it will probably just be a full video, but for Comics and Beyond, maybe show off, start off with my Superman books, from Superman 1939, slash Adventures of Superman, and well, I'll be signing off now. Hope you had a great weekend. So until the 29th, keep smiling.